This is Will. Glad you guys joined us for another great episode of training. I wanted to pivot a little bit. Normally we talk a lot about Apple apps, but I figure, you know what? I have so much experience using Zoom over the last couple of years that why not share some things about Zoom that you might like? I find it to be a very helpful, more reliable tool that for video conferencing and things like that, especially when we were doing the pandemic and we couldn't get together with a lot of our families. You know, Zoom was kind of like the thing to do. So first off is to talk about what you can do and what you cannot do. So right now, the type of plan that I have is a pro plan, which means I can have up to 30 hours per week. I have over 100 attendees can join. And then some of the options I have is I have cloud storage for 5 gigabytes of that storage. Now, for mostly everyone, you're going to be doing the basic plan. And the basic plan is a 40-minute time limit. That is a big deal. So if you're going to be doing Zooms and you're going to do the free account, they also don't even offer, I believe, any kind of like support. You can't even call them or contact them. So they do have a mail calendar beta, which I have not used yet. I typically just make the meeting up. I usually use my personal meeting ID, and that's how I contact everybody. And then, of course, you do team chat in there. Whiteboard features are built into the basic plan. But these are the idea of a pro plan. So $149 a year is not terrible for what you're doing, but you know it is a year for per user. So recommend that if you have a business, one person just kind of is the pro plan, everybody else is a basic, and then that way you don't have to deal with it. So let's talk a little bit about how to actually use Zoom. You really have to do your email address and password, and you sign in, or you can sign up to your account down here. Now, through my job, I actually have an SSO feature. So we have a specific link because we are a business or educational. We go through here. So that's something to keep in mind that you may have to necessarily go through here. I signed into my SSO account. Usually that entitles of you entering a domain name that has been given for your business. But this is the basics of the starting point. So right now you have 4 options that you always will have. New meeting, join, schedule, and screen share. Those are the 4 basic starting points. And then you have a feature where you can connect your work or personal calendar right here so you can see your upcoming meetings. So if I hit add calendar, you can add a calendar directly into here. And you have Google, Exchange, and Office 365. Now, because I don't necessarily use that for my personal self, this is not a valuable asset for me. Most of my calendar items are on iCloud, so this is not useful. So it's a feature I just won't use, but just know it's there. When you start a new meeting, it's very simple. You just hit the orange button that starts a new meeting up. There is an arrow here for more options, and you can go with starting with or without video and using your personal meeting ID. So I blocked that out for people not to see it, but there is a personal meeting ID here, and then you could start that by default. So that it's almost like having a permanent number like your phone. You could join a meeting just by putting the number in here or a personal link name that you may have saved. Also, you do have the option not to turn on your audio and your video. So if you're just joining just to watch, that would be the best option. Schedule a meeting sets up a schedule where you can allow a certain date and time, and what this does, it creates a link for other people to join. So you basically set the time frame of when you want that to happen, or if you're going to do it every week, you could do it every week, every day, right on here. You could generate an automatic ID where it doesn't use your personal. It could be an automatic one or use your personal. You can have a passcode, which I would strongly recommend you do. Definitely have a passcode so people just can't in there. A waiting room, which a waiting room is people will join, but instead of coming right on camera, what it does, it puts them in a waiting room so that they wait for your turn and then you accept them on their behalf. And then only authenticated users that sign into Zoom can join. So if you want, it's more of just a privacy and security thing. You can decide if the host has video on or off, or the participants have to have it on or off. Audio, you have options of telephone only, computer audio only, or both. I usually just don't change this. Calendar, iCal, Google, and other calendars are an option so that way you can be formatted for the calendar you want. You can also add alternative hosts as well. So if someone else is going to be kind of like your partner on this, like Frank would join me on this as an example. And then language interpretation, I've never used that feature. And then you save it. And then when you save it, it creates that meeting. It creates a full schedule of that meeting. And then you can copy the invitation and paste it wherever you want to put it. All right, everybody, this is me. I just wanted to show you a little bit about some of the things you want to do on screen with your mute and your stop video. So stop video is extremely important. If you rather see a still picture like this, you can. You can also decide on what camera to choose from. So right here I have the option to choose my iPhone camera. So I'm going to do that. And because of the feature built in here, here is actually my camera. So you can, because of continuity, you have the ability to actually choose the camera. And you have desk view. So that's a new feature with desk view if you want to do that. And then you could do my camera. And then of course you have the camera that I started with, which was this camera right here. Also, I have OBS installed. You can blur my background out so you can get rid of the background area. Very good job of taking care of that. And then we'll just stop the video just so you don't have to see my face all the time. Now, mute is very important as well. So you have a mute button. You have an arrow, which also can help you out as far as selecting your microphone. You can actually use the microphone directly from your iPhone. You could use your speakers, or if you have audio set up. I think what's very important is that you always test your speaker and microphone. Testing your speaker and microphone is very valuable. As you can see, it's making a ringtone as I was doing that. It's extremely important to do that because you want to make sure your audio is working. I can't tell you how many times I've had to talk to people and they're just not understanding the concept of selecting their microphone and their speaker. It happens a lot. And then under the test speaker and microphone, I recommend running that all the time. So here's an example. You can see sound comes down when I hit yes. And then the microphone testing audio, and then it's going to repeat it back. And the microphone testing audio, and then it's going to repeat it back. It says everything's working properly, and we end the test. All right, so some other features you can add on here is you have screen sharing. So if you want to add screen sharing, if you want the participants to screen share, which I deal with a lot, absolutely. You can also lock the meeting down. So that means that no one else can join that meeting. So it's a good way to keep people out that's not supposed to be in there. Enable the waiting room is a big one. So you can look at all these different features and kind of go through. These are just the basics. Participants, if you would like to copy the link, which I do a lot, and then if I went into the chat here, just to open that up, you could actually see the chat, and there is the link that you can just copy and paste to everybody very quickly and easily. You can also do the invite, which then goes through contacts, Zoom room, and email to set that up. Chat is exactly what it sounds like. It's just a chat between you and your host. You can actually chat to individual people or everyone. You can record the session. Now, because I have you can record locally, and that's what me and Frank did during our podcast days. We would record a lot with this. Captions, if you want to do that. Breakout rooms, which will separate people to their own rooms and then bring you back in when the host allows you. Reactions is just simply things like thumbs up, hearts, things like that, if you want to do that. And then you have a full whiteboard. So if you want to use a new whiteboard, you can do that. You can collaborate or present that. So if you're doing separate collaboration, which, honestly, Apple came out with that solution right now with Freeform. So if you went to Freeform app, you could do that with someone else that also has an iCloud account. And there are more things where you could do live on Facebook, live on YouTube, live on Twitch. The last feature that's here is screen share. So screen share will set up a feature that lets you screen share to someone else. So usually how that works, again, is the same idea, that you have a sharing key or a meeting ID. Because we're not in a meeting right now, what I'm going to do is start a new meeting. There's a screen share button right here that we never really talked about. So when you click on it, there is options here of what you want to share. So you can choose to share your entire desktop, which always works out the best because people sometimes will share windows, and then if you have to show them something else, you can't. So for example, if I share my Finder desktop, you're only going to see that one window, and that's it. If I have to show you something on Safari or Final Cut, which I'm working on, you can't see that. So I always recommend doing this. I always say start Zoom, choose the first option on the top left and hit share. Always do that. That's just my idea. You can optimize for video clips. So optimize the screen sharing for the best full screen video experience. You can share the sound if you need to hear it. There's also AirPlay features. So if you want to do the AirPlay, you can do iPhone via cable as well, whiteboard. There is advanced features where you could do a portion of the screen, just the video, just the audio, content from the second camera. So there are way advanced features, but this is the basic point. And then if I click on desktop, what that'll do is it'll share my desktop screen to everybody in our Zoom meeting. And then up here in the corner, if you want to go through this, click and then hit settings. You can start going through some of the settings on here that are very valuable. I think video is very valuable. Go through here, turn on things HD, no HD, adjust for a little light. A lot of these things are very self-explanatory. I don't think I need to explain it. How you want to share your screen, what features you want to do. Like you want to do side by side. Do you want to maximize the window? Do you want to maintain the current size so you can still have access to your entire display? Background effects. If you want to put a blur, if you want to put San Francisco, this was very popular back in the day. You can add all these different effects. You can even add your own. You could have filters if you really wanted to do that for some reason. I don't know why you would. It's a little too silly. I mean, it requires a lot of work. Recording, if you want to, where you want to record to the machine. Record a separate audio file for each participant, which could be valuable if you want to edit their file by itself. And sometimes, like during podcasts, that would be very valuable. You can also choose the recording where you want to save it afterwards. Audio just goes over ringtones. A lot of this stuff is stereo audio, so if you want to have stereo instead of mono, testing your microphones out, we kind of did a lot of this before. If you're using dual monitors, that might be valuable to you, entering full screen when joining a meeting if you want to do that. So these are all just settings that you can play around with, and I'm sure there are more in-depth videos on it. But this was a basic starting point to Zoom, and I wanted to give you a little bit oversight of that. But these are the basics of just having a normal meeting just together, and I hope this was valuable to you. But thank you guys for joining us for another great edition of Apple One-to-One Training, and I love every single one of you.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for viewing our content. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe so you can see all our training videos as well as links to download our podcast.